Close your eyes. It's June 12th, 2022. A Sunday morning. Hundreds of thousands of people wake up and check their Celsius accounts. Their balances are there. Everything looks normal. But when they try to withdraw, a message appears that they have never seen before. Withdrawals, swaps, and transfers between accounts are paused. Just that. No explanation, no timeline, no warning. A woman in Michigan has her entire life savings on the platform. A retired couple in Florida parked their pension there for the 18% annual yield. A software developer in London borrowed against his holdings and cannot reach anyone to ask what is happening. Alex Mashinsky had promised them all that Celsius was safer than a bank. It was not. Now, he's the face of Celsius Network, a company with a singular promise: to redefine the essence of banking. With the slogan, "Unbank Yourself," Celsius Network vowed to liberate its users from the constraints and inadequacies of traditional financial institutions. In 2017, amidst the cryptocurrency boom, Celsius was born. It was a beacon of hope for those disillusioned by conventional banks. Promising yields of up to 17% on certain altcoins, it attracted attention, curiosity, and trust. By 2021, the company boasted 1.7 million registered users and managed nearly $12 billion in assets. But back to Alex. Each week in these sessions, he argued with critics, made bold predictions, and painted a picture of a financial utopia. His audience, a mix of skeptics and believers, tuned in religiously. A community formed around these ideals, hungry for a new way to handle money. Mashinsky didn't hide behind corporate facades. He showed up, week after week, engaging directly with those who had entrusted their savings and retirement funds to Celsius. His candidness was a rarity in the world of finance, where CEOs often remain distant figures. Yet, as with any grand vision, there were cracks in the foundation. Beneath the surface of this ambitious venture, questions began to swirl about the sustainability of Celsius's business model. Critics pointed to the risks inherent in its strategies, such as lending to institutional borrowers, which were shrouded in the volatile nature of the cryptocurrency market. By June 2022, the concerns crescendoed into a crisis. Without warning, Alex Mashinsky announced a freeze on all Celsius withdrawals. More than 1 million customers, reliant on these funds for their livelihoods, were left in shock. 4 weeks later, Celsius Network filed for bankruptcy. The financial chasm was staggering, a $4.5 billion hole in the balance sheet. Trust, once so carefully cultivated, had evaporated overnight. The repercussions of Celsius's collapse rippled through the cryptocurrency world. Depositors faced significant losses, and the broader industry grappled with heightened scrutiny and calls for regulation. This tale of aspiration and downfall left a profound mark on the narrative of digital currency. As we unravel the threads of this story, we'll explore the meteoric rise and dramatic fall of Celsius Network. We'll reflect on the lessons learned and the implications for trust and transparency in both cryptocurrency and traditional financial sectors. Tonight, let us journey back to the origins of Celsius Network, where it all began with Alex Mashinsky. His dreams and ambition propelled this venture into the limelight, but also to the brink of disaster. Chapter 1 awaits, where we delve into the life and legacy of the man who once reinvented how we connect and sought to do the same with how we bank. Chapter 1 awaits, where we delve into the life and legacy of the man who once reinvented how we connect and sought to do the same with how we bank. His name is Alex Mashinsky, a name that rings familiar among technology innovators and cryptocurrency enthusiasts alike. Born on October 5, 1965, in Ukraine, Mashinsky's early life was shaped by a climate of change and innovation. His family relocated to Israel when he was still a child, fostering his adaptability and resilience amidst the shifting tides of history. These early experiences imprinted upon him a unique perspective, setting the stage for his future as a disruptor in the tech industry. By the 1980s, he had moved to the United States, where he began to build his reputation as an entrepreneur. His foray into technology culminated in the creation of Voice over Internet Protocol, or VoIP, which forever altered how people communicated across the globe. VoIP was not merely a technological advancement, it was a revolution. Before its inception, long-distance calls were expensive and often unreliable, a burden on both individuals and businesses. Mashinsky's vision for VoIP was simple yet profound: to make communication accessible and affordable for everyone. By converting voice signals into digital data, VoIP allowed users to make calls over the internet, bypassing the traditional telephony infrastructure. This innovation democratized communication, breaking down barriers and linking voices across continents with unprecedented ease. Through his company, Arbanet, founded in 1996, Mashinsky showcased his prowess as a leader in technological advancement. Arbanet became a significant player in the telecommunications market, facilitating billions of minutes of international calls. This early success cemented Mashinsky's reputation as a visionary, earning him both respect and credibility. It is this same credibility that he would later leverage in his venture into the realm of cryptocurrency. By 2017, cryptocurrencies were no longer a fringe interest. They had entered the mainstream consciousness. Bitcoin had surged to unprecedented heights, capturing the imagination of investors and technologists alike. Mashinsky saw an opportunity, a chance to once again disrupt and redefine an industry through innovation. On June 1, 2017, Celsius Network was officially launched, promising to challenge the status quo of traditional banking. With its tagline, "Unbank Yourself," Celsius sought to offer financial freedom through decentralized banking. The allure of high yields and low fees attracted attention, and Mashinsky was at the helm, ready to navigate this new frontier. The promise was simple. Celsius Network would function as a decentralized finance platform, allowing its users to earn substantial interest on their cryptocurrency deposits. At a time when traditional banks offered negligible interest rates, Celsius promised yields of up to 17% on certain altcoins. It was an offer that seemed almost too good to be true, and for many, it was irresistible. By 2021, Celsius Network had amassed a community of 1.7 million registered users, managing approximately $12 billion in assets. It was a remarkable achievement, a testament to Mashinsky's vision and the appeal of an alternative financial system. The platform was particularly popular among millennials and tech-savvy investors, individuals seeking to break away from traditional financial institutions and their perceived shortcomings. Key to Celsius's rapid growth was Mashinsky's personal brand. He was not just the CEO, he was the face and voice of the company. Hosting weekly Ask Mashinsky Anything sessions, he connected with users directly, addressing concerns and sharing insights with a transparency that engendered trust. However, beneath this veneer of success, questions lingered about the sustainability of Celsius's business model. Critics and analysts pondered how the platform could consistently deliver such high returns. The strategy involved lending deposited crypto assets to institutional borrowers, generating the promised yields. Yet this reliance on market dynamics introduced risks that were not fully understood by all. Mashinsky, ever the optimist, dismissed these concerns, assuring users of the platform's robustness and his unwavering commitment to their financial security. Yet the history of financial markets is littered with stories of overconfidence and unforeseen turmoil. The allure of high returns often blinds investors to the inherent risks, a lesson that has been repeated throughout the annals of economic history. As we reflect on Mashinsky's journey, it is clear that his life was shaped by a consistent theme: the desire to break barriers and redefine what is possible. From his pioneering work in VoIP to the ambitious creation of Celsius Network, his legacy is one of innovation and disruption. Yet with innovation comes responsibility, a balance between visionary thinking and pragmatic caution. The rise of Celsius Network was meteoric, fueled by promises of an economic revolution, but as we will explore in subsequent chapters, the reality proved far more complex. The story of Alex Mashinsky and Celsius Network is not just about one man or one company. It is a reflection of the broader challenges and opportunities within the ever-evolving landscape of technology and finance. As we step further into this narrative, we will uncover the intricate dynamics that led to both the rise and eventual fall of Celsius. Chapter 1 leaves us at a crossroads, poised between past achievements and the unfolding journey ahead. The curtain rises on a new act, where questions of trust, innovation, and sustainability converge. As we turn the page to Chapter 2, we will explore the promise that drew millions to Celsius and the ambitions that set the stage for its meteoric ascent. The journey is just beginning, and the road ahead is rich with insights. Let us continue, guided by the lessons of history and the stories of those who dared to imagine a different world. Let us continue, guided by the lessons of history and the stories of those who dared to imagine a different world. In 2017, amid the fervor of a rapidly expanding cryptocurrency market, Alex Mashinsky envisioned a new financial frontier. He launched Celsius Network, promising a revolution against traditional banking systems. With the slogan, "Unbank Yourself," Mashinsky sought to offer an alternative that was not just about banking, but about empowering individuals. The idea was simple yet ambitious. Provide depositors with high yields while lending their cryptocurrency to institutional borrowers. It was a model designed to disrupt, to challenge the status quo of financial institutions. By 2021, Celsius had amassed 1.7 million registered users, managing approximately $12 billion in assets at its peak. This was not merely a business, it was a movement. The promises were attractive. Yields as high as 17% on certain altcoins drew in those who were disillusioned with traditional banks offering minimal interest rates. In an era where financial autonomy was increasingly prized, Celsius tapped into a burgeoning desire for change. Mashinsky was not new to the role of a disruptor. He was a pioneer of Voice over Internet Protocol, VoIP, which had transformed global communications. His success in technology lent credibility to his venture into the cryptocurrency world. His weekly Ask Mashinsky Anything sessions became a platform for transparency, where he addressed questions from the community with an openness that inspired trust. However, beneath the surface of Celsius's rapid rise lay complexities and risks. The business model depended heavily on lending to institutional borrowers, relying on their solvency and continued interest in borrowing cryptocurrency. In the volatile landscape of crypto, this was a gamble with high stakes. But for Mashinsky, risk was synonymous with innovation. The early days of Celsius were marked by enthusiasm and exponential growth. The community that formed around Celsius was not just customers, but believers in a new financial paradigm. They were attracted by not only the potential returns, but also the philosophy that underpinned the company. The idea of banking without banks resonated deeply in a time when trust in traditional financial institutions was waning. As the months turned to years, Celsius's growth seemed unstoppable. The cryptocurrency market surged, and with it, the fortunes of those invested in networks like Celsius. By the end of 2020, the world was witnessing a crypto boom. Bitcoin reached historic highs, and investor confidence was buoyed by stories of newfound wealth. However, with rapid growth came scrutiny. Questions began to surface regarding the sustainability of Celsius's business model. Could the company maintain such high yields indefinitely? Critics pointed to the inherent risks of the cryptocurrency market, where prices could swing dramatically within days. Amid these questions, the company continued to expand. Mashinsky was a charismatic leader, often compared to the visionaries of Silicon Valley. He was seen as someone who not only understood technology, but could harness it to reshape industries. Yet the pressure to deliver on promises intensified. Celsius's strategy involved not just lending to institutional entities, but also investing in emerging blockchain projects and providing liquidity to decentralized finance protocols. These methods were innovative but complex, often opaque to those outside the industry. Trust in Mashinsky's vision remained high, but the intricacies of the business model were understood by few. By early 2022, signs of stress began to appear within the cryptocurrency ecosystem. Market volatility increased, and the broader economic climate became uncertain. Amidst these challenges, Celsius faced growing concerns over its ability to meet its high-yield commitments. In June 2022, these challenges culminated in a pivotal moment. Celsius announced a freeze on all withdrawals, citing extreme market conditions. For many users, this was unexpected and devastating. The platform that promised financial freedom now left them locked out of their funds. The impact was immediate and profound. The freeze sent shockwaves through the community and the broader cryptocurrency market. Trust, once the bedrock of Celsius's success, was fractured. Users took to social media, expressing their anguish and uncertainty. 4 weeks later, Celsius filed for bankruptcy. The filing revealed a significant $4.5 billion hole in the balance sheet, underscoring the financial challenges that had been building beneath the surface. It was a stark contrast to the company's image of growth and prosperity. For many, the rise and fall of Celsius was a reminder of the volatility inherent in seeking rapid innovation in finance. The very elements that made Celsius appealing, high yields, decentralization, disruption, also made it perilous. It was a cautionary tale about the risks of entrusting complex financial systems without adequate regulation or oversight. As Celsius's story unfolded, it raised pressing questions about the future of cryptocurrency and decentralized finance. How could these technologies be harnessed safely? What role should regulations play in protecting investors while fostering innovation? These were not just questions for the industry, but for society as a whole. The collapse of Celsius was a moment of reckoning. For Alex Mashinsky, it was the end of one journey and the beginning of another, perhaps one filled with introspection and lessons learned. As for the users and the broader crypto community, it was a stark reminder of the thin line between innovation and instability. Yet, amidst the fallout, the dream of a new financial frontier persisted. How would it evolve from here? What shape would it take as the community and industry leaders sought to rebuild trust and redefine the landscape of digital finance? As we move forward into the next chapter, let us consider these questions with both caution and hope. For in the ruins of Celsius's collapse lies not just a story of failure, but a foundation for learning and potential rebirth. Join us in the next chapter as we delve into the complexities of Celsius's business model, examining the strategies that promised so much yet delivered so little. In the intricate web of modern finance, Celsius Network emerged as a unique thread, promising to weave something new and revolutionary. Launched in 2017, Celsius was the brainchild of Alex Mashinsky, a man whose entrepreneurial spirit was already legendary for his pioneering work on voice-over internet protocol. By 2021, the company boasted 1.7 million registered users and managed approximately $12 billion in assets, a testament to the allure of its business model. But to understand the depth of its narrative, one must peer behind the curtain, into the mechanics that promised and ultimately failed to deliver such attractive returns. At its core, Celsius Network operated on a deceptively simple proposition: offer high yields on cryptocurrency deposits and use those deposits to generate even higher returns through lending. The promise of up to 17% yields on certain altcoins was nothing short of magnetic, drawing in both seasoned investors and crypto newcomers alike. These rates were significantly higher than those offered by traditional banks, which in 2021 offered an average savings account interest rate of a mere 0.6%. This discrepancy was not just a gap, it was a chasm, one that emboldened the rhetoric that traditional banks were outmoded relics, ripe for disruption. The core mechanism Celsius employed was lending assets to institutional borrowers. These borrowers, typically crypto hedge funds or other large-scale entities, paid interest for the privilege of using Celsius's capital. In theory, the model was sound. Use the borrowed funds to generate profits that exceed the interest rates paid to depositors, thus retaining a margin of profit for the company. However, the cryptocurrency market is volatile, and the risks were pronounced. For those familiar with the financial landscape, echoes of the high-risk borrowing strategies of the early 2000s housing market were alarmingly present. A notable aspect of Celsius's rise was the transparency, or perceived transparency, offered by Alex Mashinsky through his weekly Ask Mashinsky Anything sessions. These sessions, informal yet influential, served as a platform for users to directly engage with Mashinsky, fostering a sense of community and trust. In these exchanges, Mashinsky would assure users of the company's sound strategies and robust checks against market volatility. Yet behind this facade of openness, the intricacies of the business model raised eyebrows among industry veterans. One area of concern was the collateral Celsius required from its borrowers. Unlike traditional banks that demand substantial collateral, Celsius often lent without such stringent requirements, betting on rising crypto prices to secure their loans. This strategy assumed ever-increasing asset values, an assumption that proved overly optimistic as market conditions shifted. The promise of high returns was not just a lure, it was a gamble, one heavily reliant on bullish market trends. In early 2022, whispers of instability began to circulate within insider circles. Critics questioned the sustainability of offering such high yields, particularly as the crypto market showed signs of a downturn. By June 2022, these whispers had transformed into a crescendo of concern, culminating in Celsius's decision to freeze all withdrawals. This drastic action was akin to pulling the emergency brake on a speeding train, an action that sent shockwaves through its community and the broader crypto landscape. The freeze prompted immediate panic among depositors, many of whom faced significant financial uncertainties. With their funds locked in the network, the promises of secure, high-yield investments turned into a nightmare. This move was unprecedented in the nascent world of crypto finance, challenging the core trust that Celsius had cultivated among its users. As the dust settled, the reality of the situation began to crystallize, revealing a balance sheet hole of approximately $4.5 billion. The magnitude of this shortfall was staggering, shaking the foundation of not only Celsius but also the confidence in crypto investments, which many had heralded as the future of finance. The company's subsequent bankruptcy filing, 4 weeks after the withdrawal freeze, exposed deeper financial misalignments and managerial oversights. For Alex Mashinsky, the fallout was not just professional, it was deeply personal. His vision of democratizing finance had spiraled into a cautionary tale, a stark reminder of the perilous balance between innovation and risk. Amidst the chaos, stories of individual investors surfaced, each one a poignant reminder of the human cost behind the numbers. Take, for instance, Sarah Thompson, a single mother from Portland who had invested her life savings into Celsius, drawn by the promise of financial security for her son's future. Or David Chen, a retiree from Brooklyn, who saw in Celsius a chance to grow his small pension into a more comfortable nest egg. These personal stories were the real heart of the crisis, illustrating the ripple effects of corporate decisions on everyday lives. Looking back, the rise and fall of Celsius Network is a multifaceted narrative of ambition, innovation, and oversight. It is a story that not only highlights the volatility inherent in financial markets, but also underscores the crucial role of trust and transparency in any economic system. The lessons from Celsius's downfall are manifold and pertinent, urging both current and future enterprises in the cryptosphere to tread with caution. As we close this chapter, the questions linger, urging a deeper reflection on what the future holds for similar ventures. In the next chapter, we will delve into the specific events leading up to the withdrawal freeze, examining the pressures and decisions that precipitated this pivotal moment. In the twilight of 2021, whisperings of uncertainty began to ripple through the corridors of power at Celsius Network. The optimism that had buoyed the company since its inception in 2017 started to wane. By this time, the platform boasted over 1.7 million registered users and managed assets exceeding $12 billion. These were impressive figures, yet beneath the surface, cracks were becoming increasingly visible. Alex Mashinsky, the charismatic founder, seemed to straddle two worlds. On one hand, he was celebrated for making innovations in technology, notably with VoIP. On the other, his transition to the cryptocurrency domain with Celsius was under scrutiny. Publicly, Mashinsky remained a reassuring presence, hosting his weekly Ask Mashinsky Anything sessions. These interactions painted a picture of confidence, but inside the company's walls, doubts were growing louder. The model that Celsius had adopted involved generating high yields by lending deposits to institutional borrowers. The promised returns, sometimes as high as 17% on certain altcoins, had drawn in a significant number of retail investors. However, as with any high-reward investment, high risks shadowed these potential gains. Concerns about market volatility and the sustainability of such returns were being raised by analysts and industry insiders alike. By early 2022, the wider cryptocurrency market was bracing for a storm. Rising interest rates and geopolitical tensions created an atmosphere of uncertainty. In this context, the challenges faced by Celsius became more acute, with questions about liquidity emerging as a central issue. The pressure to maintain the high yields promised to depositors was mounting. Internally, the strain was showing. Employees, once enthusiastic stalwarts of the Celsius mission, began to express concerns about the company's strategic direction. There was growing unease over the state of the balance sheet, which seemed unable to support the company's commitments in a downturn. Whispered conversations in break rooms and quiet nudges of doubt became more frequent. Externally, the skepticism was no longer whispered. Prominent figures in the crypto community started to question the feasibility of Celsius's business model. Questions were raised on various forums and media outlets about whether such high yields were sustainable in a bear market. What had begun as isolated criticisms evolved into a broader scrutiny as the year progressed. As May 2022 drew to a close, the sentiment turned more ominous. A blockchain analytics firm revealed that large outflows from Celsius's wallets were occurring. This transparency, a hallmark of blockchain technology, became both a blessing and a curse for the company. Trust, once Celsius's greatest currency, began to erode as these revelations surfaced. The firm's leadership attempted to assuage fears. Alex Mashinsky reassured depositors through public statements and maintained the narrative of stability. He emphasized that Celsius was built to withstand market fluctuations. Yet despite these affirmations, the rumors persisted. June 2022 arrived, and with it, the tipping point. On June 12th, an announcement from Celsius shocked its users and the broader crypto community. The company declared a sudden freeze on withdrawals, swaps, and transfers. This development felt like a seismic shift, shaking the very foundation of trust Celsius had built over the years. The decision was justified as necessary for stabilizing liquidity. However, for many depositors, the announcement was a devastating blow. The funds they had entrusted to Celsius were suddenly out of reach. Panic ensued as individuals and families grappled with the reality that their investments were frozen. In the days that followed, the press was relentless in its coverage. Headlines captured the anger, confusion, and fear of Celsius users. Personal stories emerged, with individuals sharing how the freeze impacted their financial security. For some, these funds represented years of savings or the hope of financial independence. Inside Celsius, the atmosphere was tense. Executives scrambled to manage the crisis, all while attempting to maintain an outward appearance of control. Employees reported a sense of chaos as rapid decisions were made in response to the mounting backlash. The future of the company, once bright with promise, was now shrouded in uncertainty. By June's end, the company's leadership faced an undeniable reality. The once celebrated model was failing under the weight of its own promises. The liquidity challenges could not be easily resolved, leading to an urgent need for transparency and accountability. The next steps would be critical in determining the fate of Celsius Network. On July 13, 2022, Celsius Network filed for bankruptcy. This move confirmed the worst fears of its depositors and investors. The bankruptcy filing revealed a stark truth: a $4.5 billion hole in the balance sheet. This financial chasm highlighted the deep structural issues that had long been obscured by the company's outward success. The fallout from the bankruptcy was swift and severe. Regulatory bodies took notice, initiating investigations into the company's practices. The broader cryptocurrency market watched with bated breath, aware that the implications could extend far beyond a single company's downfall. Trust, a vital currency in the world of decentralized finance, had been severely compromised. For affected users, the announcement of bankruptcy brought with it a mix of emotions. There was hope that some funds might be recovered through the bankruptcy process. Yet, there was also an overwhelming sense of loss and betrayal. The promises that had once seemed so assured now felt hollow, leaving many to question the very foundations of their financial decisions. As the dust began to settle, the story of Celsius Network became a cautionary tale. It highlighted the dangers of high-yield promises in a volatile market. More importantly, it underscored the need for transparency and due diligence. These lessons, though hard-learned, would reverberate throughout the industry. The collapse of Celsius Network marked a turning point not only for its depositors, but for the entire cryptocurrency landscape. It prompted a re-evaluation of risk, trust, and the true cost of innovation without sufficient oversight. As the industry began to reckon with these revelations, questions lingered about the future of decentralized finance and its potential to fulfill its original promise. In the aftermath, the community sought answers and accountability. The coming months would see a flurry of activity, from legal proceedings to regulatory reforms. The story was far from over, and the lessons yet to be fully realized. As investigators delved deeper into Celsius's operations, new details were poised to emerge, potentially redefining the landscape yet again. With the stage set for a deeper exploration of these unfolding events, Chapter 5 will guide us through the intricacies of the bankruptcy proceedings and the impact on Celsius's stakeholders. With the stage set for a deeper exploration of these unfolding events, Chapter 5 will guide us through the intricacies of the bankruptcy proceedings and the impact on Celsius's stakeholders. It was a warm July day in 2022 when Celsius Network filed for Chapter 11 bankruptcy protection. The filing took place in the Southern District of New York, a setting that had witnessed many high-profile financial collapses before. For participants in the cryptocurrency market, it felt like déjà vu, a reminder of the volatility and risk inherent in the digital asset world. Celsius, once a shining beacon of the decentralized finance movement, was now a name synonymous with uncertainty and shattered trust. As details of the filing emerged, they revealed a startling $4.5 billion hole in the company's balance sheet. This gap laid bare the financial misjudgments that had accumulated over years of ambitious, perhaps reckless growth. The court documents, dry and factual, masked the emotional turmoil experienced by thousands of individuals who placed their trust in Celsius. Among these individuals was Jane Thompson, a schoolteacher from Cleveland, Ohio. She had invested approximately $50,000 in Bitcoin and Ethereum through Celsius, drawn by the prospect of attractive returns. For Jane, the appeal was not just the interest rates, but the community-centered ethos that Celsius proclaimed. The weekly Ask Mashinsky Anything sessions felt like direct lines of communication with those guiding her financial future. But now, Jane's funds were trapped in a void that legal proceedings might never fully illuminate. The bankruptcy filing was not just a legal maneuver, it was a seismic event that rippled through the cryptocurrency ecosystem. Celsius's decision to halt withdrawals in June 2022 had already sent shockwaves. Now, as creditors lined up, a painful restructuring process was on the horizon. Legal analysts likened the proceedings to a jigsaw puzzle, with pieces scattered across numerous jurisdictions and involving complex financial instruments. For Alex Mashinsky, the charismatic leader of Celsius, the filing was a personal and professional nadir. His credibility, once bolstered by his role as a VoIP pioneer, was now under intense scrutiny. Critics pointed to his overly optimistic assurances about Celsius's resilience, and some accused him of misleading stakeholders about the company's true financial health. In a world where digital reputations can be built or shattered instantaneously, Mashinsky faced both legal and reputational challenges that seemed insurmountable. As the bankruptcy case unfolded, the details of Celsius's operations came into sharper focus. The company's business model, reliant on lending to institutional borrowers, had exposed it to significant leverage and liquidity risks. These risks were compounded by a volatile cryptocurrency market that was experiencing one of its most turbulent periods in history. As assets under management ballooned to $12 billion at its peak, so too did the potential for disastrous miscalculations. The legal proceedings revealed that Celsius had overextended itself, chasing high yields in an ever-competitive race against other crypto lending platforms. The promised returns of up to 17% on certain altcoins, once a cornerstone of its marketing strategy, now seemed emblematic of its broader financial gambles. With the curtain pulled back, the intricate web of Celsius's financial commitments was laid bare, exposing the fragility beneath the facade of prosperity. Meanwhile, the impact on Celsius's stakeholders was both immediate and profound. Institutional partners, retail investors, and a global community of cryptocurrency enthusiasts were forced to reassess their financial futures. For many, the loss of access to funds was not just an economic blow, but a deeply personal betrayal. Stories emerged of individuals whose life savings were embedded within Celsius's ecosystem, now facing uncertainty and potential financial ruin. The courtroom battles continued throughout the latter half of 2022, with creditors fighting to recover as much of their investments as possible. Legal teams representing thousands of affected parties argued over the value of assets, the feasibility of restructuring plans, and the responsibilities of Celsius's leadership. The proceedings were complex, involving not just the dismantling of Celsius's financial architecture, but also the rewriting of trust within the crypto space. As the bankruptcy unfolded, regulators took notice. The collapse of Celsius prompted calls for greater oversight and transparency in the cryptocurrency industry. Lawmakers and watchdogs highlighted the need for regulatory frameworks that could prevent similar collapses, recognizing the potential systemic risks posed by large-scale crypto enterprises. These discussions hinted at a future where digital finance might more closely resemble its traditional counterparts in terms of regulation. For the broader cryptocurrency market, the Celsius bankruptcy was a cautionary tale. It underscored the dangers of unchecked ambition and the need for robust risk management practices. Investors, entrepreneurs, and developers grappled with the implications, questioning the sustainability of high-yield promises that lacked solid financial underpinning. The narrative surrounding Celsius served as a clarion call for introspection within an industry still finding its identity on the world stage. As the year drew to a close, the remnants of Celsius's operations were being picked apart, sold, or restructured in a bid to salvage what remained. For those like Jane Thompson, the hope of recovering their investments offered little solace against the backdrop of a shattered financial landscape. Yet, amidst the wreckage, there was an emerging consciousness about the importance of due diligence and informed decision-making. The Celsius saga was far from over. As stakeholders awaited the final outcomes of the bankruptcy proceedings, the ramifications for the crypto industry continued to unfold. The story of Celsius was a poignant reminder of both the possibilities and pitfalls embedded within the rapidly evolving world of digital finance. In the next chapter, we will delve into the aftermath of the Celsius collapse, exploring the broader consequences for its depositors and the cryptocurrency market at large. The lessons learned from this financial debacle may provide a roadmap for future resilience and innovation in the digital asset space. The lessons learned from this financial debacle may provide a roadmap for future resilience and innovation in the digital asset space. Yet, to fully understand the implications, we must delve into the details surrounding the financial unraveling that culminated in Celsius Network's bankruptcy filing on July 13, 2022. Just 4 weeks after the company had frozen withdrawals, the shockwaves of this decision were still reverberating through the cryptocurrency community. The filing revealed a staggering $4.5 billion hole in Celsius's balance sheet. For many depositors, the scale of the discrepancy was both alarming and disheartening. How could a company that once managed $12 billion in assets fall so swiftly and so dramatically? The answer lay in a mix of overly ambitious promises and a volatile market environment. Alex Mashinsky, the charismatic CEO, had always been the face of Celsius Network. His weekly Ask Mashinsky Anything sessions were a cornerstone of the company's transparency strategy. Yet, behind the scenes, questions were mounting about the sustainability of the generous yields Celsius promised, up to 17% on certain altcoins. These returns, enticing as they were, depended heavily on the company's ability to lend effectively to institutional borrowers and to navigate a rapidly shifting crypto economy. As the market turned bearish in early 2022, the strain on Celsius's business model became increasingly apparent. The prices of major cryptocurrencies like Bitcoin and Ethereum had dropped significantly from their all-time highs in 2021, exposing the fragility of the high-yield promises. As liquidity tightened, Celsius found itself in a precarious position. The decision to freeze withdrawals in June was a desperate attempt to stabilize the situation. But the freeze only exacerbated the crisis of confidence among Celsius's 1.7 million registered users. Many had entrusted their savings to the platform, drawn by the allure of high returns and the promise of a new financial order. As the reality of the withdrawal freeze set in, panic and frustration rippled through online forums and social media. In the days following the bankruptcy filing, more details emerged about the internal challenges that had plagued the company. Among the most significant issues was Celsius's reliance on speculative trading strategies to sustain its yield promises. These strategies, while potentially lucrative in bull markets, became liabilities as market conditions deteriorated. The company's decision-making process was also called into question. Former employees described an environment where aggressive growth targets overshadowed risk management. The culture, once seen as innovative and disruptive, was now being scrutinized for its lack of prudence and oversight. The bankruptcy filings revealed a company struggling under the weight of its own ambitions. A series of misjudged investments and volatile market dynamics had created a perfect storm. Yet, there was also a sense of inevitability, given the broader context in which Celsius operated. The collapse of Celsius Network was part of a larger pattern of instability within the cryptocurrency sector in 2022. Other platforms, faced with similar pressures, were also forced to confront the limitations of their business models. These events highlighted the urgent need for greater transparency and regulation in the industry to protect consumers and ensure long-term viability. For the thousands of individual investors affected by Celsius's downfall, the personal impact was profound. Stories began to emerge of people who had lost significant portions of their life savings. The emotional toll was immense, with many grappling not only with financial loss, but also with a deep sense of betrayal. Lisa Thompson, a single mother from Seattle, had invested her savings in Celsius, hoping to secure a better future for her 2 children. When the withdrawal freeze was announced, she found herself unable to access the funds she relied on for everyday expenses. "I trusted them," she said, her voice tinged with disbelief. "I thought they were different." Such stories were not uncommon. Across the globe, similar accounts painted a picture of widespread disillusionment and hardship. Yet amidst the turmoil, there were also glimmers of hope and resilience. Some community members banded together to offer support and share information, determined to navigate the challenges hand in hand. As Celsius Network began the arduous process of bankruptcy proceedings, the focus shifted to potential paths forward. Could the company restructure and eventually return funds to its depositors? How would the industry respond to this high-profile failure, and what measures would be taken to prevent similar occurrences in the future? These questions loomed large, not only for Celsius but for the entire cryptocurrency sector. The collapse had shaken trust and tested the industry's resolve, sparking debates about regulation, accountability, and the very nature of decentralized finance. As these discussions unfolded, there was a growing recognition of the need for thoughtful reflection and systemic change. The events surrounding Celsius's downfall underscored the importance of balancing innovation with responsibility. For Alex Mashinsky and the remaining leadership at Celsius, the road ahead was fraught with challenges. The bankruptcy process would require transparency and cooperation, as well as a commitment to learning from past mistakes. As Chapter 6 draws to a close, we stand at the crossroads of uncertainty and potential transformation. The story of Celsius Network is not merely one of collapse, but also of reflection and renewal. The next chapter will explore the aftermath of Celsius's fall, delving into the regulatory responses and the impact on the broader cryptocurrency market. We will examine how this pivotal moment has shaped the industry's future and what it means for those still navigating the digital financial landscape. In this space of introspection, the seeds of future innovation are sown. As we move forward, the lessons of Celsius remind us of the risks and rewards inherent in the pursuit of financial revolution. With the echoes of this chapter lingering, we prepare to step into the next phase of our exploration. The road is long and uncertain, but the journey holds the promise of discovery and growth. The bankruptcy of Celsius Network sent shockwaves through the cryptocurrency community. The consequences were both immediate and far-reaching, affecting not just the depositors, but the entire digital finance landscape. On July 14, 2022, the New York Bankruptcy Court became the stage for a high-stakes drama that would unfold over months. As Celsius disclosed its financial situation, the $4.5 billion hole in its balance sheet became a symbol of mismanagement and overreach. For many, it was a stark reminder of the risks inherent in the crypto world, one that had often promised outsized returns with little regulation. Investors like Sarah Mitchell, who had entrusted her life savings of $200,000 to Celsius, found themselves in a precarious position. Her dreams of early retirement faded into uncertainty as she grappled with potential losses. Sarah was not alone. Over 1.7 million users had registered with Celsius by 2021, each lured by the promise of high yields. Stories began to emerge, each unique, yet sharing a common thread of trust turned to betrayal. The platform had been marketed as a safe harbor amid the volatile seas of cryptocurrency, yet it had failed to weather the storm of its own making. The mess left behind was not just financial but deeply personal, affecting the lives of countless individuals. The regulatory response was swift, as authorities sought to understand how such a collapse could occur and prevent future incidents. By October 2022, hearings were underway in Washington, D.C., where the Securities and Exchange Commission, SEC, began assessing the broader impact on the cryptocurrency market. The environment was tense, as lawmakers questioned the adequacy of existing regulations. The fall of Celsius brought renewed scrutiny to an industry often described as the Wild West of finance. The regulatory vacuum that had allowed companies like Celsius to operate with little oversight now seemed untenable. Calls for greater transparency and consumer protection echoed through the halls of power. For Alex Mashinsky, the repercussions were both professional and personal. The man once hailed as a visionary was now under investigation for his role in the debacle. His weekly Ask Mashinsky Anything sessions, once a forum for community engagement, now seemed like a relic of a more optimistic time. Critics questioned whether he had been blinded by ambition, or worse, if he had knowingly led depositors astray. The aftermath of the collapse was not just a cautionary tale for investors, but a wake-up call for the entire crypto industry. Trust, once lost, is difficult to regain, and the reputational damage was profound. As Celsius's creditors gathered for restructuring meetings, the mood was somber. There was talk of potential clawbacks and legal battles that could drag on for years. In the months following the bankruptcy, the cryptocurrency market experienced a period of volatility. Prices fluctuated wildly as investors reevaluated their positions and risk appetites. The collapse of a major player like Celsius had introduced a new level of uncertainty, shaking confidence in what was once seen as an unstoppable wave of financial innovation. For the depositors, the struggle to recover lost funds was both exhausting and emotionally draining. Many found themselves attending meetings and court sessions, hoping for a resolution that seemed perpetually out of reach. The legal proceedings were complex, with multiple stakeholders vying for a share of the limited assets that remained. Creditors, both large and small, faced the harsh reality of the bankruptcy process, a slow and often unsatisfying path to recovery. For some, like Sarah, the losses were not just financial but symbolic of a broken trust in a system that had once promised so much. The personal stories behind the numbers were ones of resilience, as people sought to rebuild their lives amid uncertainty. In the broader context, the collapse of Celsius prompted a shift in how regulators viewed the cryptocurrency industry. The lessons learned were clear. Without sufficient oversight, even the most promising ventures could falter. By early 2023, discussions on regulatory frameworks for digital assets were intensifying, with proposals aimed at improving transparency and accountability. The story of Celsius Network, from its meteoric rise to its dramatic fall, served as a case study in the potential perils of unfettered growth. It highlighted the need for a balanced approach, one that encouraged innovation while protecting consumers from undue risk. The narrative was not just about a company, but about an entire industry at a crossroads, faced with the challenge of rebuilding trust. As the dust began to settle, the question remained, what would the future hold for those who had placed their faith and their finances in the hands of Celsius Network? The landscape was forever altered, yet the spirit of innovation persisted. Entrepreneurs, investors, and regulators alike were left to ponder the lessons of this high-profile failure. The aftermath of Celsius's collapse was a complex tapestry of consequences, weaving together personal loss, regulatory shifts, and industry reflection. It served as a poignant reminder that in the world of finance, the human element is as critical as the technological. In the wake of such turmoil, the path forward required careful navigation, mindful of the lessons learned. History has often shown that from the ashes of failure, new paradigms can emerge. As the crypto industry looked to the future, the hope was that these lessons would pave the way for a more sustainable and trustworthy financial ecosystem. The stage was set for a new chapter, one that promised both challenges and opportunities for those willing to embrace change. The echoes of Celsius's rise and fall would undoubtedly resonate for years to come, shaping the dialogue around digital finance and its role in a rapidly evolving world. As we move forward, we find ourselves at a pivotal moment, ready to explore the reflections and lessons that this saga has left behind. As we move forward, we find ourselves at a pivotal moment, ready to explore the reflections and lessons that this saga has left behind. The Celsius network's meteoric rise and catastrophic fall serve as a profound case study in the ever-evolving narrative of financial innovation and its inherent risks. This chapter delves into the human element, the individuals and stories behind the numbers and headlines. It's about understanding what went wrong and what we can learn for the future. The world of cryptocurrency, much like the Wild West, has been a landscape of immense opportunity and peril. Alex Mashinsky, with his charismatic vision and experience, seemed poised to bridge the two worlds, cryptocurrency and traditional finance. His weekly Ask Mashinsky Anything sessions became a hallmark of transparency in an industry often cloaked in mystery. These sessions, hosted with a casual flair, were an opportunity for users to engage directly with Mashinsky, asking questions about their investments and the future of Celsius. Yet beneath the facade of transparency, complexities were brewing. By 2021, Celsius had amassed 1.7 million registered users, a testament to its appeal and Mashinsky's persuasive promises. At its peak, Celsius managed approximately $12 billion in assets, a staggering figure for a company so young. The promise of yields up to 17% on certain altcoins was an irresistible lure, especially in an era of low interest rates. But as history has taught us, the greater the promise, the greater the potential for collapse. The cracks began to show when customers started questioning the sustainability of these high yields. Some users noted delays in withdrawals and inconsistent communication from the support team. These were early warning signs that many, in their pursuit of high returns, chose to ignore. June 2022 marked a turning point. Overnight, Celsius announced a freeze on all withdrawals, leaving countless customers in a state of panic. For many, their life savings were suddenly inaccessible. The decision was a direct consequence of unsustainable financial practices, but it left ordinary people bearing the brunt of the collapse. The impact on these individuals was devastating, transcending financial loss to become a deeply personal crisis. Celsius filed for bankruptcy 4 weeks later, unveiling a $4.5 billion deficit in its balance sheet. This revelation shocked the financial world and left millions questioning how such a significant shortfall went unnoticed for so long. The bankruptcy filing was not just a legal process. It was a public acknowledgement of failure and mismanagement. For the investors who had placed their faith and finances in Celsius, the fallout was a harsh reminder of the volatility and unpredictability inherent in the cryptocurrency space. The aftermath of Celsius's collapse rippled through the cryptocurrency market, catalyzing a wave of skepticism. Regulatory bodies, which had been relatively hands-off concerning the burgeoning industry, now faced mounting pressure to implement stricter regulations. This event highlighted the critical need for oversight, transparency, and most importantly, accountability in the financial sector. Moreover, the reputational damage to cryptocurrencies as a whole was significant. Trust, once lost, is challenging to regain. Investors and users began to question not only Celsius but other platforms offering similarly high yields. The skepticism extended beyond individual companies to the very principles underpinning decentralized finance. For many, this was a wake-up call, prompting a re-evaluation of risk and reward in their investment strategies. The stories of individuals affected by the Celsius collapse are as varied as they are tragic. Take, for instance, Sarah Thompson, a single mother from Ohio who invested her savings into Celsius, hoping to secure a better future for her children. The withdrawal freeze left her in financial limbo, grappling with uncertainty and anxiety. Her story is one of many that underscore the human cost of financial mismanagement. Then there's David Ramirez, a retiree who placed his trust and retirement funds into the platform, drawn by the promise of higher returns. For him, the collapse was a devastating blow that upended his sense of security and trust in financial institutions. These narratives serve as poignant reminders of the real-life consequences of corporate failures. The lessons from Celsius are manifold. First, the importance of due diligence and skepticism cannot be overstated. Investors must critically assess the risks and promises of seemingly lucrative investment opportunities. The allure of high returns often blinds individuals to the potential pitfalls that accompany such offers. Historical precedents, from the dot-com bubble to the 2008 financial crisis, echo similar patterns of greed and overreach. Second, transparency and accountability must be at the forefront of financial innovation. Companies operating in emerging markets, particularly those dealing with intricate financial products, have a responsibility to provide clear and honest communication to their stakeholders. Celsius's collapse illuminated the dangers of opacity and overconfidence in leadership, serving as a cautionary tale for future entrepreneurs and investors alike. Finally, the need for regulatory frameworks tailored to the unique challenges of cryptocurrency cannot be ignored. While regulation may stifle some aspects of innovation, it is essential to establish ground rules that protect investors and ensure market stability. The balance between fostering innovation and ensuring safety is delicate but necessary. As we reflect on Celsius's rise and fall, we are reminded of the fragile nature of trust and the profound impact of leadership decisions. Alex Mashinsky's journey from VoIP pioneer to cryptocurrency leader encapsulates a story of ambition, vision, and ultimately downfall. His narrative is a microcosm of the broader cryptocurrency landscape, marked by innovation, risk, and the relentless pursuit of growth. As we conclude this chapter, we find ourselves at a crossroads, poised to explore the future implications of these events on the financial sector. What lies ahead for the industry, and how will these lessons shape the path forward? Stay with us as we continue to unravel this intricate tale, seeking not only to understand the past, but to illuminate the road ahead. Stay with us as we continue to unravel this intricate tale, seeking not only to understand the past, but to illuminate the road ahead. The story of Celsius Network and its charismatic leader, Alex Mashinsky, leaves a legacy both cautionary and instructive. In the echo of its rise and fall, we find lessons for the future of finance. The narrative of Celsius is not just about a company, but about the dreams and aspirations of millions who believed in a new financial dawn, only to be met with disillusionment. To comprehend fully the legacy of Celsius Network, it's paramount to revisit the promises it made. Launched in 2017, in the midst of a cryptocurrency boom, Celsius quickly garnered attention. At a time when traditional banking offered paltry interest rates, Alex Mashinsky promised yields as high as 17% on certain altcoins. For many, it was an irresistible offer. By 2021, Celsius had amassed approximately 1.7 million registered users, a testament to the allure of its proposition. The allure was rooted in Mashinsky's past successes. As the man who helped pioneer Voice over Internet Protocol, VoIP, he had established a reputation as an innovator. His weekly sessions, dubbed Ask Mashinsky Anything, were pivotal in building trust with the community he passionately addressed. During these interactions, Mashinsky would often emphasize the mission of Celsius, to make banking fairer and more rewarding for the average person. The community's faith was not misplaced purely on charisma. Celsius, at its peak, managed approximately $12 billion in assets. It was a staggering amount, displaying not just trust but hope in a new financial era. Yet beneath the surface, the churning of operational risks and regulatory challenges was constant, setting the stage for the eventual collapse. The business model of Celsius, though innovative, was inherently fragile. By lending to institutional borrowers, it sought to generate the high yields promised to its users. However, the volatile nature of cryptocurrencies meant that the strategies which worked in bull markets were perilous in bear markets. As early as 2020, whispers of skepticism began to surface among financial analysts. Questions were raised about the sustainability of such high yields in a rapidly changing market environment. By June 2022, the cracks became undeniable. Celsius made the unprecedented decision to freeze withdrawals, sending shockwaves through its community. The immediate impact was profound, leaving depositors in a state of uncertainty and fear. The eventual bankruptcy filing, merely 4 weeks later, exposed a $4.5 billion hole in the balance sheet, a figure that starkly illustrated the perilous gamble that had been undertaken. The fallout from Celsius's collapse was not confined to its depositors alone. It sent ripples across the broader cryptocurrency market, casting a shadow over the entire industry. Trust, once abundant, became a rare commodity as investors scrutinized other platforms, wary of encountering similar pitfalls. For regulators and policymakers, the collapse was a wake-up call, highlighting the urgent need for greater oversight in the burgeoning cryptocurrency space. Many saw it as a turning point, a moment requiring decisive action to prevent such failures from recurring. Yet, beyond the immediate ramifications, the legacy of Celsius Network stirs deeper reflections on the nature of trust and transparency in financial systems. At its core, the story is a profound reminder of the responsibilities that come with managing other people's money. The lessons are manifold and multifaceted. For industry players, the debacle underscored the importance of robust risk management frameworks. It highlighted the need for clear communication with stakeholders and the perils of overpromising and under-delivering. For individual investors, it served as a cautionary tale about the risks inherent in pursuing outsized returns without fully understanding the underlying mechanisms. Looking through the lens of history, Celsius was not the first, nor will it be the last financial entity to face such challenges. The annals of economic history are replete with similar stories, from the South Sea bubble of the 18th century to the more recent financial crises of the 21st century. Each episode brought with it lessons that shape future practices and policies. The emotional weight of Celsius's fall extends beyond financial loss. For many, it was a deeply personal betrayal of trust. Anecdotes from depositors who saw their savings vanish paint a picture of profound disillusionment. As regulators continue to dissect the events leading to the collapse, these personal stories serve as poignant reminders of the human cost of financial mismanagement. As we step back and survey the broader implications for the cryptocurrency industry, a key theme emerges: the necessity for transparency and accountability. In an industry built on the ideals of decentralization and democratization of finance, such qualities are indispensable. The downfall of Celsius Network thus leaves a dual legacy. On one hand, It serves as a testament to the innovative spirit and potential of blockchain technology. On the other, it stands as a cautionary tale of the perils of unchecked ambition and the consequences of neglecting foundational financial principles. In the aftermath, there is a collective effort to rebuild and restore trust in the cryptocurrency sphere. Companies are increasingly adopting more rigorous compliance and transparency standards, hoping to reassure wary investors. Platforms that once operated in the shadows are now stepping into the light, understanding that openness is essential for long-term success. As we conclude this chapter, it's clear that the story of Celsius Network is far from over. Its legacy will continue to evolve as the industry learns and adapts. The lessons distilled from its rise and fall will undoubtedly influence the paths many choose to tread in the future. Looking ahead, the trajectory of financial innovation is uncertain yet promising. The next chapter will delve into those emerging pathways, exploring how these experiences shape the contours of future financial landscapes. Stay with us as we uncover the unfolding story of resilience and reinvention in the world of cryptocurrency. As we close the chapter on Celsius Network, we find ourselves contemplating the delicate balance between innovation and trust. In the ever-evolving world of technology and finance, the human desire for better, more efficient systems remains constant. Alex Mashinsky's vision tapped into this innate longing for change, for an alternative to the traditional banking systems that so many found lacking. His promise was alluring, a world where ordinary people had access to the kind of yields traditionally reserved for the financial elite. For many, this was more than a financial investment. It was an emotional one, a belief in a fairer financial future. Yet, as the events unfolded, it became clear that the foundation upon which this promise stood was fragile. The collapse of Celsius Network serves as a somber reminder of the complexity of trust in the digital age. Trust, once given, can be difficult to withdraw, even as warning signs begin to appear. The narratives woven by charismatic leaders can sometimes obscure the underlying truths. In the case of Celsius, the allure of transparency through weekly Ask Mashinsky Anything sessions masked deeper financial vulnerabilities. What does this tell us about human nature? Perhaps it highlights our propensity to believe in the possibility of change, to hope that technology can rectify the inequities we perceive in the world. But it also underscores the importance of skepticism, of diligence, and of questioning the narratives that come our way. The broader implications for the cryptocurrency industry are still unfolding. As trust in financial systems is paramount, regulators and innovators alike must consider how to uphold this trust while fostering innovation. The lessons from Celsius are not just about financial oversight, but about the human element inherent in all financial relations. As you lay down to rest tonight, consider the duality of trust and risk. Imagine the possibilities that arise when they are correctly balanced. Let these thoughts gently guide you into a space of reflection and calm. Know that in a world of uncertainty, it is your awareness and discernment that can light the path forward. Inhale deeply, exhale slowly, and find peace in the quiet wisdom of the night. This has been Satoshi's Lullaby.